defense wins championships. At least that's what the Dallas Mavericks told themselves when they traded away Luka Doncic.
And, we think defense wins championships.
But what about when the Charlotte Hornets traded away Kobe Bryant before he played a single game? Or when the Bucks shipped out Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for players you've never heard of? From franchise-altering disasters to dynasty-killing decisions, these 5 trades didn't just change teams, they rewrote NBA history. Number 5, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trade, 1975. Imagine trading away the most unstoppable offensive weapon in basketball history and getting back, well, almost nothing. That's exactly what the Milwaukee Bucks did in 1975 when they shipped Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to the Los Angeles Lakers. The trade that sent shockwaves through the NBA wasn't just bad, it was franchise-altering. The Bucks received Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, Dave Myers, and Junior Bridgman. If you're saying who right now, that's exactly the point. What makes this trade particularly painful is what happened next. Kareem went on to dominate the NBA for another 14 seasons with the Lakers. We're talking about 13 All-Star appearances, 10 All-NBA selections, and 7 All-Defensive Team nods. Oh, and let's not forget the 5 championships he brought to Los Angeles. Meanwhile, the Bucks, they wouldn't see another NBA Finals appearance until Giannis Antetokounmpo led them there in 2021, nearly half a century later.
The long wait has ended. After a half century, the Milwaukee Bucks are NBA champions once again.
Sure, Abdul-Jabbar had requested the trade, but that doesn't excuse the return package. The Bucks essentially traded away a Picasso for some paint-by-numbers kits. Even in 1975, everyone knew this was highway robbery. The numbers tell the devastating story. In his Lakers career, Kareem averaged 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game, shooting an incredible 57% from the field. He won 3 MVP awards in purple and gold and formed one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history alongside Magic Johnson. This trade wasn't just bad, it was historically catastrophic. It set one franchise back decades while propelling another to the heights of NBA glory. Number 4, the Kobe Bryant trade, 1996. Sometimes the worst trades in history happen before a player ever steps on an NBA court. That's exactly what happened when the Charlotte Hornets traded away the rights to a young high school phenom named Kobe Bryant to the Lakers for Vlade Divac. Now, Divac was a solid player, a borderline all-star center who could pass and score. But Kobe, he would become one of the greatest players to ever touch a basketball. And the trade looks even worse in hindsight because it wasn't just about losing Kobe. This move actually helped the Lakers create space to sign Shaquille O'Neal, essentially gifting them the foundation of a dynasty that would win 3 straight championships.
Less than 5 from way outside. Got it!
Over his 20-year career, all with the Lakers, Bryant would become an 18-time All-Star, make 15 All-NBA teams, and win 5 championships. His career statistics are staggering: 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. He became the face of the NBA's most glamorous franchise and one of the most influential players in basketball history. What did the Hornets get? 2 seasons of Divac before he left in free agency. That's it. No draft picks, no young prospects, just 2 years of an above-average center in exchange for one of the greatest players ever. This trade serves as a brutal reminder that sometimes the biggest mistakes in NBA history come from undervaluing young talent. The Hornets chose the safer win-now option instead of betting on potential greatness. That decision would haunt them for the next 2 decades. Number 3, the Nets-Celtics disaster, 2013. If there was ever a textbook example of mortgaging your future for the present, this is it. In 2013, the Brooklyn Nets made what might be the most short-sighted trade in NBA history, sending 3 unprotected first-round picks and a pick swap to the Boston Celtics for aging stars Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. Let's break down just how catastrophically bad this decision was. The Nets didn't just trade away picks, they traded away unprotected picks in 2014, 2016, and 2018, plus a pick swap in 2017. In the NBA, unprotected picks are like blank checks for the future. The Nets essentially handed the Celtics their ATM card and said, "Here's the pin, take whatever you want." The Nets thought they were building a super team. Instead, they built a super disaster.
The 3 players here, all champions.
Those picks? They turned into the foundation of the Celtics' current dynasty. The 2016 pick became Jaylen Brown. The 2017 pick swap allowed the Celtics to draft Jason Tatum. It's like the Nets handed their division rivals the blueprint for their own destruction. What makes this trade particularly painful is how quickly it went wrong. Pierce and Garnett were well past their primes. Pierce was 35, Garnett was 37. The Nets won exactly one playoff series with them. One. That's a pretty steep price to pay for a single playoff series victory. 3 unprotected first-round picks, a pick swap, and the shame of watching your division rivals build a powerhouse with your assets. The trade was so catastrophically bad that it changed how NBA teams value draft picks. When you hear about protecting picks in trades today, that's partly because of this disaster. GMs looked at what happened to the Nets and said, never again. It became a cautionary tale taught in NBA front offices around the league. But the real pain came in watching those picks turn into gold for the Celtics. Year after year, the Nets had to sit and watch as Boston used their picks to build one of the most talented young cores in the NBA. It was like paying your neighbor's mortgage while they built their dream house right next door. The aftermath? The Celtics used these assets to become perennial contenders, while the Nets spent years in basketball purgatory, unable to rebuild because they didn't control their own draft picks. They couldn't even properly tank. Any benefit from losing would go straight to Boston. Number 2, the Luka Doncic trade. A trade so shocking that when it first broke, people thought the reporter's account had been hacked. The Dallas Mavericks, against all logic and reason, had just traded away Luka Doncic, their 25-year-old generational superstar, to the Los Angeles Lakers. This wasn't just any trade. This was the first time in NBA history that 2 reigning All-NBA players were traded for each other mid-season. But make no mistake, this wasn't an even swap. Let's put this in perspective. By age 24, Doncic had already accomplished what only legends like Larry Bird, George Gervin, and Tim Duncan had done, earning 5 All-NBA first-team selections in their first 6 seasons. He had led the Mavericks to the NBA Finals in 2024, becoming just the second player in NBA history to lead the playoffs in total points, rebounds, and assists.
Never gets sped up, just attacks it beautifully.
Doncic, what a pass, and Jones with the finish.
The Mavericks' justification: they wanted to improve their defense and were concerned about Doncic's conditioning. Let that sink in. They traded away their franchise cornerstone because they were worried about his workout routine. The return package: Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. That's it. No massive haul of draft picks. No young prospects, just a 31-year-old Davis, who, while excellent, was already showing signs of decline and had a concerning injury history. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Mavericks fans staged protests outside their arena, complete with a mock funeral. Season ticket holders demanded refunds. Even Texas Governor Greg Abbott expressed his disbelief. NBA executives around the league were stunned, not just by the trade, but by the fact that Dallas negotiated exclusively with the Lakers, instead of opening up a bidding war that could have netted them the biggest haul in NBA history. The emotional fallout was devastating. Doncic, who had just purchased a $15 million home in Dallas, was nearly asleep when he got the news. He didn't respond to calls or texts from Mavericks GM Nico Harrison, and according to former Maverick Chandler Parsons, he cried after learning about the trade. His father later criticized the Mavericks on Slovenian television for trading him without his knowledge and leaking critical stories about him. The early results? Davis played just 2 quarters in his Mavericks debut before suffering another injury.
Davis on the post-up, this time Eason, another good defender. Davis scores!
Meanwhile, Doncic, despite the emotional toll of leaving the only NBA home he'd known, immediately proved why this trade might go down as the worst in sports history. This isn't just recency bias talking. When you trade away a 25-year-old generational talent who's already on pace for a Hall of Fame career, you better get a king's ransom in return. The Mavericks didn't even get a prince's allowance. As the Mirror stated, this was the worst trade in NBA history, with no close second. Number 1, the Westbrook Lakers disaster, 2021. Sometimes the worst trades aren't about what you give up, they're about what you destroy. The Lakers' 2021 trade for Russell Westbrook wasn't just bad because of what they lost, it was catastrophic because it dismantled a championship caliber team for a player who simply didn't fit. Fresh off their 2020 championship, the Lakers decided to fix what wasn't broken. They traded away Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Montrezl Harrell for Westbrook, essentially trading away their championship depth for a ball-dominant guard who needed the rock in his hands to be effective. It was like replacing the engine in a perfectly running Ferrari with a helicopter rotor. The results? A complete disaster. The Lakers went from title contenders to play-in tournament participants. Westbrook, a former MVP and one of the most athletic point guards in NBA history, looked completely lost alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. His style of play, the very thing that made him great in Oklahoma City, became a liability in Los Angeles.
Have not been able to capitalize. Westbrook. Down the lane, he's done it again.
But the real pain came from watching what happened to the players they gave away. Kuzma blossomed into a 20-point scorer in Washington, averaging 20 points and 7 rebounds over 3 seasons. Caldwell-Pope went on to win another championship with the Denver Nuggets, providing exactly the kind of 3-and-D play that the Lakers desperately needed. The trade didn't just fail, it exposed a fundamental misunderstanding of what made the Lakers championship team special. Their 2020 title was built on defense, shooting, and role players who knew their jobs. The Westbrook trade stripped away all of that for a name-brand star who didn't fit their system. The aftermath of this trade haunted the Lakers for years. They had to spend multiple seasons trying to recover from this self-inflicted wound, all because they tried to fix something that wasn't broken. It's a reminder that sometimes the worst moves in NBA history aren't about losing future assets. They're about destroying what you already have. So there you have it, the 5 worst trades in NBA history. But hey, we want to hear from you. Which of these trades do you think was the absolute worst? Would you have made any of these moves if you were in charge? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into NBA history, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. We're always breaking down the biggest stories in basketball, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. We'll see you in the next video.